Dead Red Cincinnati, 4th of July week. And my partner is the picture of America.
That's right.
You like this holiday, don't you?
These colors don't run, brother. They stand up and fight.
Happy 4th, Sam.
Likewise, buddy.
Yeah, good to see you. This is going to be a good week, and I think a good show. Listen, we started talking about the Reds at Yankee Stadium this week, so let's start with this. You first went to that ballpark back in 2012.
Yep.
And in that series in 2012, the Reds took 2 of 3 from the Yankees. Pretty standard Reds baseball for that era. Johnny Cueto won. Homer Bailey won. Ryan Ludwig had a big game. Joey Votto homered. All of that. But your most, I guess, strongest memory from that game or that series and the visit to that ballpark for the first time was what?
It took place before baseball was played. It was a day game, so it might have been the third game of the series. And I'm walking out to the bullpen, and everybody's out there and does their. Sorry, I'm coming down here a little bit. Don't want to show a nipple. Walking out to the bullpen, and all the guys, they're out there doing their little run around and all this jazz, and Derek Jeter's out there running around, and I never played against him, never seen him anything. First, I was surprised. He's bigger than you think, and just I wasn't one of those guys, and you and I have talked about this. We talked about it with rivalry. I would not like a hugger or anything like that, and certainly I didn't know the guy, but it just want to look over and hey, man. And you don't have to say it. He already knew. It was like, I respect you. You're awesome. Way to go. How's Mariah Carey? Whatever. And it was just as simple as that, and as simple as the return answer.
And he acknowledged with something.
He acknowledged, and that was all that was needed to be said. I think he got it. I got it. His response was exactly why I was doing it in the first place. Complete class. And then the cherry on top was I got to face him later that day, of course, with the bases loaded. Yankee Stadium, and I got him to ground out to short. But there was 2 outs, bases loaded, was going to go to the well. Sinker, strike, ball, 2-1 count, grounder to shortstop, 6-4 fielder's choice. So
how about that?
I was like, I respect you, man, but I ain't giving it to you.
That was the captain. That was number 2. And just before we move on, though, I know players, and you in particular, have opinions of other players and their careers, how they handle themselves. What stood out to you about Jeter during his time?
Just that. I mean, it was – anybody ever read or hear a bad thing about him? No. He went about it the right way. He was respectful, and it is just amazing to me. Awesome for that organization. Aaron Judge is that same cloth, man. Just awesome dude, does the right things, plays the game the right way. I mean, he hits home runs that are no doubters, bat down, run around. It's just little things like that to me, and that's an example. He's a captain because that's an example for the guys that are coming up in that organization. It's an example for the younger kids around the country who are at the grassroots level, I think is what they call it. Just learning how to play the game. And I see these 12-year-old kids running around with oven mitts hanging out of their back pocket. I'm like, really? Watch Derek Jeter. And look, I love Ellie De La Cruz to death, but he's got every gadget that there is, and not just Ellie's awesome, and I love to watch him, but I just love kind of that standard operating procedure. And so Jeter passed that along to Judgy, and that's pretty cool.
Judge is of the same cloth. The cloth is just a XXX now instead of whatever
with pinstripe.
Whatever Jeter wore.
It's a pinstripe suit.
How do you think you would have fit? Could you have been a Yankee? Could you have been? Would you have bought into? Would you have bought into the no facial hair and the other things that come with being a part of that organization?
I mean, it's hard to. Just because I had the mustache around here, I think it's hard for people to imagine that I would have, but could I have fit in? I mean, yeah, because I don't think that I would have been, they talk about some people not being able to play in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't think I gave enough to really worry about it. You know, it was and look, Graham, said something the other night was, hey, it's a stadium, especially after the first time you've played in it, it does become a different ballpark. Because I was watching batting practice yesterday and was thinking about some of the guys who've never been there, and you don't think within the moment like, oh man, I'm hitting taters at Yankee Stadium. You're hitting batting practice at a ballpark, right? I mean, after the first time you do it, it becomes another ballpark. It has to, or else it gets you.
Mm-hmm.
So, do I think I could have? You can still wear mustaches in the Yankee organization too, partners. I don't know if I'd have had all this crap.
It would have been interesting. We'll finish that up. The movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken, the dad, asks Leonardo DiCaprio, the son, he goes, hey, son, do you know why the Yankees always win? And he says,
people can't take their eyes off the pinstripes.
Yeah, he said, because they have Mickey Mantle. And he goes, nope, because people can't stop looking at those pinstripes. And
That's
you know
right.
what? There's something to that.
There's some truth to it.
There's definitely something to it. That's fun. All right, with that, we say welcome inside Dead Red Cincinnati. Happy 4th. If you're lucky enough to spend the 4th with Sam, it looks like it would be festive and always a good time. So we're glad to have you with us for that, but let's jump in with the Reds right now. And the first half for the Reds, Sam, there's been an 8-game losing streak. There's been a 7-game winning streak. And you characterized this on the show when we talk about it as the Reds Jekyll and Hyde. Where do you see that as it stands right now as we come up to the All-Star break here in a couple of weeks, and what it means and how it trickles through the organization in terms of what they are at the halfway point?
Well, I think it's been continued to be consistent. I think the last 5 games, it's been 11-0, 11-0, and 5. I would split the 11s into 2 5s, right? A 5 and a 6. You start doing that with the way that this pitching staff's been throwing the ball, you got a lot more in the left column than the right, I think, right now, because they've just been really good. A lot of that, and, we were hesitant before the season to really anoint them having a huge bump up from last year, because it was such a huge bump year over year, 20 wins from 22 to 23. Pretty unheard of. I didn't feel like it was going to go much farther north than that. And that was more because not the talent level. They obviously have it. They were able to make the big jump the one year, but coming into this year, all the adjustment stuff that was going to have to go on. Like the guys that are on the pitching staff had been for a couple years, and this was kind of their time to have made adjustments, and it looks like they sure have. From an offensive standpoint, it was mostly those young kids. You're going to be, you knew coming in, you were not going to have TJ Friedel for a good portion of it, Matt McLean for maybe all of it, Nick Lodolo didn't start, Noelvi Marte. That is 3 of your probably top 5 or 6 hitters in the lineup. Maybe at some point it's your 1, 2, 3 in your lineup, but who knows? And then your frontline starter. So there was going to be regret. Just from an offensive standpoint, it was the adjustments that each of the young guys were going to have to make. And the final line was going to be how quickly could they make them. And day to day, they're not making them right now. Maybe they're making them within a series. Maybe they're making them within a week. But you have to shorten that gap from the closer you can get to making an adjustment a pitch at a time. There's where your greatness lies.
Yeah. Jonathan India, one of the most productive offensive players in the National League in the month of June. Looks a lot like Rookie of the Year India minus the power. I mean, he's not hitting home runs and doubles at the rate that he did his rookie year. He's hitting doubles now at that rate.
Yeah, the doubles all of a sudden just came.
All of a sudden for the last couple of weeks, but I don't know if he'll get to his total from 2021. But I think knowing India, the player, the way that we do, and India, the person, the way that we do, the fact that he got healthy and got back to this, I don't think it surprises anyone. But now it certainly, creates a different conversation in terms of where this team is going and where Jonathan India is headed right now. What do you make of him getting hot right in the weeks leading up to the trade deadline?
Well, I'm thankful for it because they've needed him, I'm looking at the group as a whole. Obviously, they need the help, and he would be a guy that they would all look to for that, I mean, he's pretty veteran on this team and has had some success. I'm happy for him, because there has been a lot for him to unpack over the past couple of years with, some injuries, some underperformance, some question mark, them referring to him as Captain America of America's team last year. And then he comes into camp, several months later without any place to play.
Right.
That's how do you process that? And he talks about his process almost ad nauseum, but it's true still for everybody that's mentally strong and an athlete. They're still a human being, and that's going to affect you.
Yeah.
So for him to kind of come out of here recently and things to have worked out for him,
right,
with and I say worked out with some salt or whatever you want to call it, but Matt McClain going down provides an opportunity and baseball does that a lot. Mm-hmm. Ball don't lie. That's a segment for some time,
yeah.
But for him to be in there and doing what he's doing, I think it's great. And he's a good player. We had him pegged for this.
Right. And you're happy for Jonathan India. You're happy for the Reds, because I do believe if they start to win enough to make this more interesting, leading up to the All-Star break with the big homestand, and as they head down the stretch, he can lead them to where they would like to go. I firmly believe that. But when we talk about where this team goes, you and I have had this discussion about some of the things, some of the numbers that indicate things that don't necessarily reflect in the record. And you've brought up run differential, which is a great barometer for a team and some of the things that you're doing right, but it doesn't always, or in the case of the Reds, work out in wins and losses. But how do you weigh what you see when you look at some of those other numbers with some of the decisions the Reds will have to make down the stretch or in the next few weeks as it pertains to, are we buyers or sellers? Gordon Wittenmeyer in the Cincinnati Enquirer just talked to Reds GM Brad Metter. He said what we're all thinking. He said, of course, we would love to add at the trade deadline. We would love to have that path ahead of us.
That makes sense.
But he also says we got to wait and see because we don't know.
Yeah. That's where it becomes difficult to bet on inexperience, right? I mean, if you start looking at back of baseball cards, right? And you have proof of consistent performance over an amount of time. I mean, you look at Candelario on this team, and his trajectory's been up. It's been pretty slow and steady, but just around the league in general, you want to have a pretty good feeling in your stomach of when you're making a move that, all right, well, I can bet on this guy to do it. You can't do that with this Reds team. My counterpoint to my own point would be the evening out process.
But explain the run differential part of it real quick.
Okay, so runs. How many runs have you given up? How many runs have you scored? Right. More runs scored than runs allowed. Positive, right?
The Reds are positive.
When I looked at this the other day, there were 6 teams in the National League that had a positive run differential. You may have heard of some of these teams: the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Brewers, the Braves, and the San Diego Padres.
I think I counted 4 first place teams.
Something like that.
There
can only be 3 in the National League, but 4 very good teams. 5, I mean, all going to be wild card, all this thing, and the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds at the time was like, the Phillies is like plus 120, and the Reds is like plus 15, plus 20, which would be indicative of a record of maybe, I don't know how many they get, call it 45 and 40. Let's say that's the games they've played right now. So it is a good indicator of success, and that you could transfer over and look at the National League or the American League as well. So that would indicate that performance should be better. Then I say that evening out process part, it's like, well, shit, man, like one day they score 11 runs, then they score 0. That's kind of evened out, right? I mean, if you split it, it's 6 runs or whatever, 5.5 runs a game. That's a pretty good evening out. It's just so choppy over the course of the year that you hope that there becomes the consistency of being able to do that on the daily basis. I kind of want to bet on that the second half. I do. And even though coming in, I was like, I kind of want to bet on that to happen with the people that they have. I don't think it takes another person to do it, because then you start talking about a chemistry shake, which I don't think you could bring in Matt Latos to this clubhouse, and I don't think it would screw it up. You know what I mean? But you want to make sure that you take that into account. And I do think the Reds front office has done a great job of identifying players that would come in and fit from the draft, all those signings, trades, all that stuff. I think they've done a great job of it. So it's a good indicator, and it's not an end all be all like no number is, but I think it just should breed some hope going into the second half.
Hope for the second half. I think, and we always say, we can't get ahead of ourselves, or we can, they can't. But I think a big part of what kind of hope you have for the second half will be determined in the final 10 games before the All-Star break. Reds have 10 games at Great American Ballpark against teams that, frankly, aren't very good. And if you win a good chunk of those and look like a team that can win those games, you hit the break in a lot better shape, and you come out of the break with a different perspective, I think, on the second half of the season. And when you come out of the break, you're going to have 2 weeks till the trade deadline.
Yeah.
So you have to get some answers to those questions, or at least have a feel for how you're going to answer some of those questions to know if you're going to stay put, add, sell, and with the additional wild card, it's hard to convince yourself that you don't have a chance.
But isn't it funny how every little bit that we go on, oh, they've got the National League West, oh, they've got a bunch of divisional, oh, they've got every chunk is important, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's across the board.
Yeah, I think last year the Diamondbacks were 35-44. Right about this time, ended up in the World Series. So,
yep,
there is that, and as we always say, that's baseball.
That is baseball.
That's baseball. All right. You want to do 5 and dive?
Sure.
All right. Let's preface 5 and dive by the fact that we're still on a little bit of this New York theme. And you made the comment, I guess last night, that your feeling about the city of New York changed or evolved from the first time you visited to some of the more recent times you visited. What about that?
Yes. True.
How so?
Just because it's, I came from the town I grew up in was 256 people.
How many of those? Okay. How many of those were you related to?
Yeah, exactly. So to go from that, where my closest neighbor is a half mile away, and now all of a sudden I'm in New York City, and my closest neighbor is 6 inches from my head.
Right.
It's just a little shocking.
Yeah.
So as I got around to and grew up as a man and got to experience some of these different things, it became just a little bit easier for me to stomach.
Yeah.
And know where I'm going and be in awe of what man's capable of. The building these cities, I mean, crazy.
All right. So this is the theme for 5 and Dive. It's a New York theme. So I'll hit you with these 5 questions, and we'll see where we go. All right. Sam is in New York. Subway or cab?
Cab.
Empire State Building or Statue of Liberty?
Neither. I've been to the Empire State Building. I've not been to the Statue of Liberty. So Empire State Building. Have not toured the Empire State Building.
Knowing your love of America, which we can clearly see on display, I would think, man, you'd go to Lady Liberty. Man, this is Sam and Lady Liberty. Come on.
I know.
All right.
You got to go into, I think you got to go out of like Newark or something on this ferry or what. But anyhow, Empire State.
You got to get there. Sam is hungry. New York pizza or New York cheesecake?
Pizza.
The Green Monster in Boston or Monument Park in Yankee Stadium?
The Green Monster. You put me in Old Yankee Stadium, which I never was able to visit. I think it's a different deal. Now, Monument Park there's something. There's ghosts in there. You can feel it. But Fenway, you got to go on the Green Monster. My name's on the Green Monster.
Your name is in the Green Monster. All right, and we'll wrap this up. Roger Clemens or Mariano Rivera?
Well,
you got this.
I got that, and I wore number 21 all through my youth and high school days because it was Roger Clemens. I went to the University of Texas, not because of Roger Clemens. Couldn't wear 21 there. I don't know if I've told you the story of 63, but I wore it all through the minor leagues. 63 is a multiple of 21. So 21 was my number. Have had a chance to spend time with Roger Clemens, Mariano Rivera. All that said, I mean, he just Enter Sandman, Cutter.
Enter Sandman, Mo, and Cutters. And
Cutter.
End of
And
game.
like, nothing, there's nothing swirling around him.
Right.
A lot of World Series. The only unanimous Hall of Famer in history, Mo. One of two jerseys that I have signed by other players.
Oh, yeah?
Him and Derek Jeter.
You have a Jeter signed jersey and a Rivera signed jersey.
Who was the last person to wear 42? Because he was grandfathered in.
Exactly, until they retired. So how did
that is my most cherished artifact of baseball, is the Mariano Rivera.
Did you have any kind of similar interaction with Rivera that you had with Jeter?
Yeah, we had a similar career.
Did you have a similar?
We both came up as a starter and ended as a reliever.
All right. That's about the only similarity. But did you encounter Rivera and no?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping to get it. We'll see.
Where are the jerseys?
In a storage bin. I don't have enough room on the walls here. I had to go with number 1 first. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. All right, good.
Rule number 1, I'm number 1.
That's good. I like it. All right, this week is also the 11-year anniversary of your teammate and friend Homer Bailey's second no-hitter. Second no-hitter came against the Giants at Great American Ballpark. And, no-hitters are one of those things that we always like to talk about. And those of us that did not play at the level at which you played like to discuss what happens and what you do and what you don't do. And I think maybe we get a lot of that wrong.
Yeah.
Straighten me out on a few things of whether it was during one of those games that you witnessed firsthand or others that you've been a part of, just some of Sam LeCure's personal do's and don'ts or thoughts about no-hitter etiquette.
Well, I think before there's got to be a point that you're past the point of no return type of deal, right? I mean, if the guy goes 3 up, 3 down the first inning, you're not all of a sudden saying same seats, like it doesn't happen that early because, anyhow. So you basically, it's the 5th. You're aware of it in the 4th. After the 5th, after 5, it becomes a real thing. And then you start to wonder, based on maybe the score of the game or whatever it is, do I go through my routine to warm up?
Right.
I do not. I've only been part of homers, the 2 in the big leagues. I do not get up and start moving around because I think that there's a visual to it of, a guy turns around and looks and sees somebody warming up or whatever. It's like, what? Like, not just for a no-hitter in general, but for the no-hitter, I'm not getting up and moving anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes, do I continue to chew sunflower seeds? Am I going to continue this chewing tobacco? Keep this piece of gum. And comes down to kind of controlling controllables. You don't want to be the one to screw it up by doing something different. I mean, you better pick and choose that time to go pee, man. And it better count. You don't want to get up from the chair. And once you get back up and do something, it's same seat, same thing. And then just like in the dugout, when people stop talking to the pit, it gets real quiet out there.
Quiet in the bullpen.
It is, you're intense on, you're a fan, you're kind of, it almost feels like you're all interlocked arms together out there. I'm getting goosebumps, interlocked arms out there, waiting for this thing to happen, but you don't really want to talk to each other. Or something happens. It's like a quick, then there's the Joey play where he's way off the bag and catches the one. Homer doesn't get over to first base.
Decides to go to third.
That saved the day. It should have been Homer covering the bag and Joey making the flip. But since it wasn't, that was the only play Joey had. His hand was forced. And it's set because if Joey tries to beat him to the bag, he might trip and fall. And then the guy's there anyway, and it's a base hit. Yeah. This creates a fielder's choice opportunity. So, just control your controllables. Make sure you're not doing anything that you haven't been doing that whole day, and which should be easy because those are the things that you kind of do every day anyway. It's like, this is how I go, other than the warm up. But as soon as a hit goes up, pew! I mean, it is road runner shit. Everybody's running around, jumping jacks, all this shit. I mean, you got to get it cooking pretty quick. But yeah, that was pretty fun.
And it should be noted, kids, Google it, YouTube it, and watch the celebration of the second no-hitter and watch who's storming in from the bullpen to find Homer Bailey.
And Bill Bray, get out of the way.
Yeah, 63's throwing bodies and chairs and everything just to get to the mound. It's outstanding. It's outstanding. All right, Sam, why don't you wrap this up with a little message of what folks should do for Dead Red Cincinnati?
You go to where you usually watch your podcast, listen to your podcasts, you like them, you subscribe to them, you download them, you do all this thing, and you'll get more costume changes over here from 63 and maybe a little bit more slaw.
Yeah, we salute you, and we salute the Stars and Stripes this week. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.